The rain had just stopped when the ship anchored off the coast of Panay, the sea still breathing in heavy, uneven waves as if it were reluctant to let the foreigners touch land. From the village, Mateo watched the silhouette of the galleon sharpen against the horizon. He had seen ships before, but never one like this, towering, angular, bristling with cannons like black teeth. The elders muttered prayers under their breath. The children were pulled indoors. The Spaniards had come again. Mateo was not a detu, not a priest, not even a man others would call important. He was a fisher, a man who stitched nets at night and carried his mother's stories in his blood. But his body told another truth. Years of rowing against tides had carved strength into his shoulders. Training in Eskrima with his uncle had sharpened his reflexes. And grief, quiet, burning grief for a brother killed the year before by colonial soldiers, had hollowed him out and filled him with something dangerous. The Spanish captain disembarked with arrogance that traveled faster than his boots touched the sand. Captain Rodrigo de Villalobos wore polished armor despite the heat, convinced that iron and rank made him untouchable. His men followed with muskets raised, flags unfurled, the sign of the crown snapping sharply in the damp air. He spoke loudly in Spanish, then broken Tagalog, demanding tribute, demanding obedience, demanding names. Mateo stood among the crowd, fists relaxed at his sides. He translated in his head, every word tightening a coil behind his ribs. When the captain insulted the elders, calling them savages too foolish to kneel properly, Mateo felt the coil snap. It happened fast, faster than thought. One of the Spanish soldiers shoved an old man to the ground. The sound of his body hitting the mud was dull, humiliating. Mateo moved before anyone could stop him, stepping forward, placing himself between the rifles and the fallen elder. The village gasped. Someone whispered his name like a warning. Captain Rodrigo turned slowly, annoyed more than threatened. He laughed and gestured for his men to lower their guns. He wanted theater. He wanted fear. You, he said, pointing at Mateo. On your knees. Mateo didn't kneel. The captain stepped closer, breath heavy with wine and confidence. He drew his sword halfway out of its scabbard, just enough to make the point. Mateo raised his empty hands, palms open. The captain laughed again, louder this time, and in that laugh was the conviction that history was on his side. Mateo waited until the sword fully cleared the scabbard. When it did, he lunged. He didn't grab the blade, he knocked the captain's wrist sideways with the heel of his palm, deflecting the strike just enough to avoid blood. His other hand slammed into Rodrigo's throat, fingers digging deep, cutting the breath short. Surprise shattered the captain's expression. Armor meant nothing when lungs panicked. The crowd dissolved into chaos. Spanish soldiers raised their muskets, villagers screamed, but Mateo was already moving. He twisted, using Rodrigo's own weight, dragged him down into the mud. The sword fell uselessly a few feet away. Rodrigo fought wildly, trained but unprepared for a man who didn't play by rules of courtly combat. Mateo struck with elbows and knees, close and brutal, each motion learned not from books but from survival. He slammed his forearm into the captain's jaw, felt bone crack against muscle, heard a sound like breaking bamboo. Still, Rodrigo clawed back, fist swinging, rage replacing shock. He landed a blow to Mateo's ribs, hard enough to steal air, but pain only sharpened Mateo's focus. He remembered his brother's blood in the sand. He remembered the old man coughing in the mud. Mateo wrapped an arm around the captain's neck from behind, locked it tight, dropping his weight low. Rodrigo flailed, boots slipping, hands scrabbling uselessly at Mateo's arm. The armor that once signified power now made escape impossible. With one final wrench, Mateo cut off what little breath Rodrigo had left. The captain collapsed. Silence fell like a held breath across the shore. Mateo released him and stood, chest heaving, hands still empty, stained only with mud. The Spanish soldiers hesitated, stunned by the sight of their commander unconscious at the feet of a barefoot villager. For the first time, their muskets seemed heavy. Unreliable. Too slow. Mateo met their eyes without fear. The elders stepped forward. One by one, villagers followed, not armed with steel or gunpowder, but with presence, with unity. The soldiers retreated, dragging their captain back toward the ship, dignity leaking away with every step through the wet sand. The galleon sailed before nightfall. The story traveled faster than any ship ever could. It changed in the telling, growing sharper, brighter, more impossible. Some said Mateo killed the captain. Others said he spared him deliberately, to let fear spread instead of death. Children whispered it like a legend. Warriors repeated it like a promise. Mateo never claimed the title they gave him. He returned to fishing. Returned to quiet nights and salt-stung air. But something fundamental had shifted. Not just in him, but in everyone who saw what bare hands could do when backed by dignity and resolve. Years later, when the Spaniards came again, they came more cautiously. They spoke softer. They negotiated. History would still record conquest and colonization, suffering and loss. But beneath the official ink lived another truth, one carried mouth to mouth, generation to generation. There was once a man who refused to kneel. And with nothing but his own hands, he reminded an empire that flesh, courage, and conviction are forces no armor can fully contain.